So people was always ask me why I choose to travel to Rwanda every year, mostly in the winter. So Rwanda came unexpectedly. That happened in 2015 when I made the first trip to Kigali, Rwanda. At that time, I was going to Ethiopia and I decided to take a side trip and to come to Kigali, Rwanda. And the reason why I came to Rwanda because I watched the film Hotel Rwanda. Some people disagree, some people agree, or you can have a different opinion about how the film was portrayed and what actually happened in Rwanda during the 1994 massacre. But this film actually gave me a push to get a ticket and fly to Rwanda. And as soon as I arrived to Rwanda, and I just immediately fell in love with the city and with the country. I just loved it, and I promised myself that I will be coming every year for vacation here to Rwanda. And this is my like 11th time here, and I'm gonna tell you, I've been visiting so many countries in Africa. I've been in Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Kenya, South Africa, Lesotho, Swaziland, Saint Tome and Principe, Cape Verde, Namibia, and other places. But Rwanda, there is something in Rwanda that kind of brings you back and attracts you back, because there is no place in Africa to be so clean, to be so calm, to be so green, and to be so beautiful like Rwanda. So Rwanda captured my heart. And for this reason, the love I have for Rwanda, it still stays with me for so many years. And I kind of consider Rwanda as my home every time I come here, because I feel at ease here. I feel more welcoming and more relaxed. So I'm like Fika coffee shop here in Kigali, and we're gonna continue about Rwanda. So Rwanda is, as I said before, it's absolutely amazing, beautiful country, and that brings me back all the time. And traveling in Africa in general, what I noticed that there is a lot of places where you go. Like when I've been to Madagascar, and in some places in Comoros, or even in Kenya, and in Uganda as well, in Burundi. A lot of you can see a lot of children begging on the street, and poverty is harsh, and sometimes I see you don't see that much in here in Rwanda when for people or children begging for money, but in some places it happens, like in the area in the mountain where is Fazenda Senha located. When you walk there around, you can see children coming and asking for um, money and begging for money. And the thing is, like, it's it's really sad, because I understand that there is the poverty. I understand that people struggling to make a living, but it's really doesn't look well when the parents teaching their children to, every time they see foreigners, to go and beg for money and ask for money. That's kind of like not really gives you kind of like a good image um, for the country where you at. I've been coming to Rwanda, and I said in previous, I said that I made a mistake. I said since 1995. No. I was coming to Rwanda since 2015, and for 3 years I was bringing a lot of school supplies, books, pencils and were giving them to some clothes, and I was giving them to children in the school in Lake Kivu area in Kibui. And I don't mind to help child if he is hungry to get some food, but I don't like when people just purposely, intentionally just come and asking you for money just because they think that you're a foreigner. And that's the one thing. The other part is I wanted people to understand. I mean, not only in Rwanda but in Africa in general. So you need to take that perception out of your mind, just because if somebody is foreigner, you have to look at them at the ATM machine, and that people always say that, oh, Mzungus have a lot of money and this and that. That's mentality. It's very kind of like absurd, I'm gonna say. So because just because we coming from foreign country doesn't mean that all people who visit Rwanda or some places in Africa, they're all rich people. No, they're not. Because in the United States, we work really, really hard. I work really hard to make my money. And some people also who visiting Africa in general, they really work hard to save money. And at the end, they want to just take some kind of vacation and go to some places that have never been. And for them, Africa considered kind of like a captivated continent, and they're spending their savings just to come and spend some time here, a week, 2 weeks, or whatever. And but doesn't mean that they have a lot of money, because we work hard for our money to use that money and to come to see Africa. Because I understand that economically we are completely different. Whatever people make money in United States or Europe, or whatever money people make here in Rwanda or in African continent in general, you cannot just compare them. But the thing is, when you think about, because it's a person is white or person is Mzungu and he came here just because they think that we all have a lot of money and to come and beg for them, that's just kind of like, that's really bad, and that's not really true. And whatever people make money back home and they come here to spend is just to enjoy their time and vacation. Doesn't mean they have a lot of money to give for free for anybody. And that other thing is like when parents teaching children to go and ask for money from Zungus. And it was like, first of all, you have to understand that money doesn't grow on the tree. That's one. Secondly, we work really hard to make our money, and working crazy hours. But if you want your children to make some money, it's better to teach their children how to make that money, not to beg for money. Like you can, if the child can do something, maybe like put like a little efforts to do something just to earn the money, but not to beg for money. And people say to me that, oh, the people in Rwanda, they're not friendly, they're very kind of reserved, and it's very hard to make friends with them, or kind of trust and whatever. But I'm going to tell you something. And I was like, first of all, we live in 21st century. That's one thing. Like the trust issue, it's not only applies to certain geographical position of the country we're located. Trust issue in general is very complicated. It's very hard to trust people. So it's not only Rwanda or other part of Africa. It's in general, it's very hard to trust people. So those people who think it's very difficult to trust or make friends with people in Rwanda, they're absolutely wrong. That's first of all, in Rwandese people in general, they're very welcoming, they're very friendly, but it takes time to build trust and friendship, because they need to know you and to understand you before they're gonna open up and to get you closer to their circle. I mean, it's everywhere like that. It's not only in Rwanda. If you're going to look at the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and those kind of like northern part of the country in Europe, they're also like very reserved. They're not very much friendlier or very easy to make friendship with. And so because they live in their own circle, they have their own people, and they're not opening up easier unless you know them and very well. So trust, it's very difficult subject and to talk about it, and you have to understand that you shouldn't be trusting anyone, because even your best friends can break your trust, you know. And so when you're talking about trust, I would like we have to really be careful whom we are dealing with, whom we are talking with, and so it does not just rely on specific continent or specific country. The other thing is, people always say, oh, the Rwanda is trying to be like next Dubai, or Rwanda is trying to be like another country, and or like to be like Singapore or something like that. But let me tell you something. Rwanda is not trying to be like anybody else. Rwanda is very unique and very special. And Rwanda is not Dubai. Rwanda is not Singapore. Rwanda is not Europe. Even whenever people call Switzerland of Africa, no. Switzerland is Switzerland. Rwanda is Rwanda. Rwanda made a great effort, and since 1994, to rebuild the country to their fullest. So I admire President of Rwanda and people of Rwanda for everything they have done to preserve their uniqueness, their identity, their culture, and keep their country so beautifully organized and clean. It was like something that other countries in African continent have to learn and have to take lessons basically from Rwanda. Because whatever happened in Rwanda in those years, so one thing you have to understand, that all the help, financial, monetary help that was poured into Rwanda, and the government didn't put that money in the pocket or use as a method of corruption to enrich themselves. The money went to actually to rebuild the country, which is very unique and very unique, and I'm gonna say, and a very wise decision was made. And it was like, because when you run the country and you govern the country, you have to understand that you're serving people, and you need to make this country happy, not only for yourself but also for people that live here. And that's exactly what Rwanda did. Some places in Africa, like Nigeria, Gabon, or whatever, so people use their wealth, like oil and gas, and using this money only to enrich themselves, to make themselves live luxurious life and buy some chateaus in Europe and France or whatever. But they care less about the people, care less about the country, and how the country is supposed to look like, and what country is supposed to do for people. But Rwanda was different. Rwanda stand among of all other African countries for preservation, for protection, for integrity, for their core value, and whatever this country did, and that rebuild itself, it's like phoenix rises from the ashes, and to make this country approachable and a best place for living for locals, and attract people to come here and visit Rwanda. Even that campaign Visit Rwanda was very strong. Government spent a lot of money to attract a lot of people. And so a lot of foreigners come here to visit, because you have to understand majority main industry here is tourism and hospitality, and that's actually, you can see it everywhere. I'm not comparing to other places. And people come here for safari, people come here to see gorilla. Well, I'm not gonna say I want to spend the money to see gorilla, because I am not so crazy to throw that amount of money just to go to see gorilla. I can see gorillas on YouTube, but I'm not gonna spend the money just to go thousands of dollars just because to go to see gorilla. No. And what I enjoy landscape, nature. I've been to Lake Kivu many times, Lake Muazi, even walking in Kigali, going to some coffee shops. That's my thing. That's what I like when I'm coming to Rwanda and enjoying being in Rwanda. So I'm gonna say yes, Rwanda is the most amazing country in Africa I ever seen, and it attracts me. It brings me back, and I love it. And my heart basically captured Rwanda. And the thing is, even though, and my heritage basically say, and when I told earlier why I came to Rwanda and the reason for that trip, and I kind of like we can connect, or I can connect with Rwanda because I am Armenian. My parents were Armenian, and as we know in the history, Armenia suffered genocide from Ottoman Empire. So whatever happened in Rwanda in 1994, it basically brings me closer to the country, because I understand what it means to be under this particular devastating situation when one part of the people try to eliminate the other part of people. But I'm not going to talk about it, but so let's not talk about it. But yes, being in Rwanda, and I always tell people, always, if you've never been to Africa, don't try to jump right now to go to safari in Tanzania or Kenya or Kruger National Park or whatever. Because in some people's head or their mentality, they still think Africa is kind of like savage place. Some people being so ignorant, they still think Africa is completely poor, there is devastation everywhere, and it's very dangerous to be there, and so on and so on. I always tell people, if you've never been to Africa, please consider to visit Rwanda first. When you're going to see Rwanda, how the country built itself, how incredible this country is, then take this next step and go to other places in Africa. Go to Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, go to Nigeria, go to Kenya, go to Johannesburg, South Africa, and then you will see the big difference how those countries in Africa, and compare them to Rwanda. It's a big difference. And so people need to learn, people need to understand, and you know, we have to educate ourselves. Without education, you cannot progress yourself. Without education, you cannot achieve anything. And without education, you're never going to have opportunities, and your door's going to be always closed on you, and you need to have possibilities. And that's why education is very important. And And traveling the world, it's like the best university you can ever have, because you understand the culture, you understand people, you understand how people live in different countries, comparing them to places that you've been in Europe, Asia, North America, or Africa in general. So this is the most important thing. And for this reason, I'm gonna say whatever places I've been to in Europe, Asia, Africa, Rwanda always brings me back, no matter what, because I just love it, and I'm always feel at ease here, and I feel really calm and happy. That is most important. Thank you. Sometimes people usually ask me, "Oh, did you visit these places in Rwanda? Can I take you there?" So I'm gonna tell you that I've been to Akagera National Park several times, but I wouldn't say it's the best park. I mean, comparing to what I've seen in safari, wildlife, adventure parks in Kenya, Tanzania, and even Kruger National Park in South Africa. There is more opportunities there to see big five sort of wild animals. I've been to Lake Kivu in Gizeni and Kibui, loved it. Visited Lake Moazi. I went to Nyungwe National Park. But the thing is, the way they charge foreigners here, it's really out of my budget. I really don't want to pay this crazy amount of fees just because someone who is not from East Africa has to pay a lot of money. Like to visit Akagera National Park right now, it becomes really ridiculous. You have to pay $200 because you're a foreigner. And the same is Nyungwe National Park or Volcano National Park. And it was like, because in Europe and in North America and even in Asia, people don't charge you based on what country you came from. You pay the same amount like locals pay. But here it becomes like a little bit absurd that you have to pay more than locals and whatever. And even if it's like, it's not like a twice, it's like a triple, 4 times, 6 times higher. And I'm not gonna do that. Not in my interest. And I don't consider that is right. But I understand people have to make money the way how they see it, but I wouldn't agree that I have to pay that. But if somebody else wants to pay that and do that, let them do it. But that's not my cup of tea. Like, I'm not going to be paying over $1,000 just to go to see gorillas living in life. And people said, "Oh, it's a one-time opportunity." But there is so many one-time opportunities in this life, and you cannot just chase all of them. And but anyways, I occupy myself with things like I like to do and what I love, and spending a lot of money on those type of activities, like to see Volcano National Park, or like I said, to see gorillas. It's out of my budget, and it's not what I'm gonna be doing. And if the prices were the same for foreigners, like the same but locals pay, I would take opportunity. But just because I came from another country and I have to pay more, I don't agree with that, and I wouldn't do it. But as I said, if other people interested, other Mzungus who come to Rwanda or other part of Africa, they're willing to do that and pay for it, I was like, let them go for it. But not my cup of tea.